Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the Trek Ranks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 163, featuring the top 5 stargazing moments. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I'm the host of the Trek Ranks podcast, and tonight we have a very special episode for you. Tonight we are outside, an open field, or maybe on the observation deck of a starship, and tonight we're just gazing at the stars as we break down our top 5 stargazing moments. This is a fantastic topic. I'm super excited, and joining us tonight for this special event, we have 2 fantastic guests. First up, returning for her 19th overall appearance on Trek Ranks. She's normally a grease monkey doing the dirty work down in engineering, but tonight she'll be stargazing with us. It's our friend Jenn Tifft.
Nice change of pace, yeah. Hey, Jim.
Get out of the pit there and
right.
Look at some stars.
Out of the tubes for a minute, you know. Right. Look at some stars.
Out of the tubes, Rutherford, and back for her second appearance. It's the perfect guest for this topic. She's the mistress of the winter constellations and an absolute expert on stargazing. It's science and social phenom Swapna Krishna. Welcome back, Swapna.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be back.
I am excited to have you on. Okay, so full disclosure, we're doing this cool topic because Swapna has a book coming out called Stargazing. What's it called? Stargazing, Contemplate the Cosmos to Find Inner Peace. And when I saw this on Twitter, I was like, holy crap, top 5 stargazing moments. What a great topic. I'm going to see if I can get that into the schedule. And we made it work. So yes. Swapna, tell us a little bit about your book. It's coming out in August 2023?
August, yep, August 8th. It's just like a little gift book. It's part of a series called Pocket Nature, and the idea is it's supposed to like fit in your pocket, and it's it's intended to basically help people connect with the cosmos, with nature, and with the stars and space, all in this little book. And so, you know, I'm a science writer, so I packed it full of science, but it's also about like mindfulness and connection and kind of there's a lot about like self-acceptance and stuff like that, which is stuff I struggle with that I put into this book. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited about this topic too.
Okay, we'll see how it intertwines. I have a telescope. I love looking at the stars. I do it all the time. I don't know shit about the stars, people. I just like, that was bright. Oh, what does my little computer app say that is? Oh, okay. It's whatever. I can't even make up a fake name. So I can't wait to read it and get it and use it as a reference. Sounds like it's the perfect place for me to start and get a little bit smarter.
I hope so.
I think it will be. All right. This is going to be awesome. Let's get into our quick Trek Ranks recalibration.
You can recalibrate the regulators now.
Will do.
Okay, the Trek Ranks Charter has 2 clauses. We rank Trek so we can have a fun conversation about Star Trek. And 2, the ranks don't matter. We just use them as the framework to have a deep dive conversation about all the things we love about Trek. Because as Mr. Spock himself has said, our show is all about
infinite diversity in infinite combinations, symbolizing the elements that create truth and beauty.
There are no wrong answers at Trek Ranks. This show is about sharing the things we love about Trek, and we love it all from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise, and the Kelvin timeline, now Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Short Treks, Lower Decks, and Prodigy as well. It's all fair game here on the Trek Ranks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of Trek Ranks is current through the Star Trek Strange New Worlds 2nd season episode, 6th episode of the season, Lost in Translation, which is the 889th episode of Star Trek across the past 57 years. And one final reminder, we use episodes as our shorthand term, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Hailing frequencies open.
Thank you, Mr. Worf. You can hail me directly on Twitter at Trek Ranks or at Enterprise N Extra, since Enterprise Extra is now in Twitter jail. And you can see our extensive rankings of all the treks at TrekRanks.com. And don't forget, you can call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. Okay, to wrap it up, Jenn and Swapna, let everyone know how they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Jenn.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at It&apos.
Edict Works not in Twitter jail. Swapna. How about you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram as Krishna, TikTok at Swapna_Krishna, because I talk a lot about space over there. And YouTube channel is called Ad Astra.
And Mastodon and Threads.
Yes, I'm on literally every social network.
Name another one that I don't know what they're called. It's like
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Yeah, there's another one.
Phil is a new one.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know what to do with. I'm on every single one. Every single one.
Brilliant. Okay, I think
I'm waiting for all you guys to work out which one's the best, and then I'll join.
Yes, oh my God. I'm happy to test them all out and just report back.
I love it. All right, we're going to skip our diagnostic cycle this week and jump straight into our prime directives. I'm dying to hear how everyone compiled their lists.
Do they know about prime directive? They know everything I know, sir.
And you're about to know everything we know about our prime directive. So really quick, before we start, stargazing could literally mean anything in Star Trek, right? I mean, almost every time you turn on the view screen or look at an LCARS in Star Trek, you're stargazing at some point. So I feel like this topic is wide open with everything from, actually being outside looking at the stars, or maybe plotting a course for the ship, or maybe it's a scene in stellar cartography, or it could be something to do with the Stargazer. Heck, there's a whole episode called The Stargazer in Star Trek Picard Season 2. This topic is wide open. So Jenn, let's start with you. How did you define your prime directive and lock down your list?
Okay, well, my scientific life is on the opposite side of stargazing. It's the looking at really small things, subatomic level things, so it's the complete opposite of stargazing. And I thought about when I stargaze, I enjoy stargazing. And I think about I'm like you, Jim, I don't know as much about the cosmos as I could. Right. I'm an amateur. But I appreciate the science and the beauty of it, but for whatever reason, it just makes me think. It makes me look internal. It makes me think about myself, and it makes me think about the other people around me, and things like that. For whatever reason, it gets me very introspective. So I thought about those moments of stargazing in Star Trek that are more about the human connection. About how for whatever reason, looking at the stars connects us as people, and that aspect of it, a little bit of not appreciating the beauty and the science, but also then applying that to how we interact with each other.
Wow, that sounds deep. That sounds like a chapter in Swapna's book, apparently. That sounds really cool. I have one of my picks that I think really aligns with that. So this is cool. That sounds fantastic. Swapna, how about you? How did you kind of carve through it?
It's so funny because this is why Jenn and I are friends, because mine is very similar. And I think we're both science people, so I think it helps with that. But my relationship with the stars, I feel like I've had kind of this personal relationship with the stars since I was a kid. And it's all about kind of the science on one side, because the science that's what I do. That's what drives me. But there's also the emotional connection, and that is my relationship with the stars. It's my relationship with Star Trek. It's the science and the engineering and the hard stuff that's really cool, but it's also the emotional, kind of cheesy stuff that it makes us feel connected, and the Federation and all that. And so my prime directive was really balancing that emotional connection and the scientific aspects of it. I love Star Trek because it taught me about science, and it got me interested in science as a young age. And it's the reason I have the career I do now. But it's also, I have an emotional connection to these things. And it is very personal for me. It's very emotional for me. So yeah, it's very similar to Jenn's.
I can't wait to read your book, Swapna.
Thank you.
Okay, I love this. This is going to be so good. Mine's similar. The personal connection for me is the connection with Star Trek, right? All of my 5 picks are very ingrained in Star Trek's ethos, and I don't know, just the things you think about when you think about Star Trek are a part of my 5 picks. And as I was going through it as a long list, I went deep cuts. So I have 5. I don't have any heavy hitters. There's 2 heavy hitters that we'll talk about in secondary systems that are just massive, that I'm wondering if they'll be picked, because they're so massive that it would be totally make sense if they weren't picked. And then as I was going through it too, I wanted 5 really distinct things. They're all very different types of ways to look at stargazing. Some very literal, some very personal and not literal. And then I picked 5 different series. Somehow it worked out where I was going through it, and I had 5 different series. So mine's a pretty broad scope here for stargazing in Trek. Okay, this is going to be fantastic. Let's do it. Third Ramadaclon, introduce us to the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Thank you, Third Ramadaclon. As always, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our stargazing moment and the reasons we're highlighting it. And of course, everyone will pick an episode to associate with that pick. And after getting through 5 rounds of picks, we'll then get a few secondary system selections from everyone. And remember, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. Okay, Jen, we're going to start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 stargazing moments?
Okay, we're going to begin at the beginning here. My 5 words: a human custom Vulcan style, hashtag a fitting tribute. This is Enterprise, Season 2, Episode 24, First Flight.
Ooh.
And I picked this episode because...
Oh, right, of course.
Well, there's some really cool science.
It's the subplot, or not subplot, but yeah.
Well, it's the framing of
course, the framing
the
of the story that you think about with First Flight is there's a brilliant pick.
Yeah. So they find what they believe to be a dark matter nebula, the first time that humans or Vulcans will have seen such a thing close hand, and Archer's even found a way, like there was an experiment that Vulcans did that they could use Metreon particles to excite the dark matter into visibility. And so him and T'Pol go off, she's skeptical as always. And they go off to on an away mission to try to see a dark matter nebula, which is some really cool, stargazing. They have, they keep trying. They have these charges of Metreon particles, and it's their last try. And they shoot them out, and the nebula appears. And it's, again, Enterprise is pretty good with the CGI, and and it's beautiful. And they both have the acting. Our Scott Bakula in this episode, like his facial expressions, he's the wonder and the joy, and T'Pol goes to check the sensors, and he's like, no, just watch. It's just enjoy and watch, and the wonder, so you get that aspect of the stargazing. But the reason I picked this, the reason why this was elevated to a pick, is because the very end, because like you said, this isn't really about the nebula, it's about the story of the first flight. And Archer, before they leave, Archer gets some bad news that his friend / rival / partner in the very beginning of making the NX-01, A.G. Robinson had passed away in an accident. And then that's why we get this story of how Archer came to be the captain of the first, deep space vessel. And at the very end, they come back to the NX-01, and T'Pol says, "Oh, it's a human custom. I know to name, that you, since you were the one to discover it, you get to name it. What do you?" And Archer's like, "Oh, what about the T'Pol Archer Nebula?" And it's T'Pol, the Vulcan, who says, "How about the Robinson Nebula?"
I love it.
And it gets me for so many reasons, because it Enterprise in particular, since it's our first time out in deep space, they're there representing all of humanity, and they're representing us. Like we see this wonder, we'll never get to go to deep space like this, and part of the joy of watching Enterprise is getting to see them experience things like this cool nebula that no one's ever seen before, and even though A.G. Robinson never made it to space, he was a big part of why they're out there. And it's fitting that he has this nebula named after him, and having the Vulcan suggests that, especially, to Paul, suggesting that, knowing, I mean, that's not a very logical thing to do. You know what I mean? Right. It's a very emotional thing to do.
I believe there's a human custom that says when you discover something of merit,
You were in the right to name it.
What would you suggest? The T'Pol Archer Nebula?
I was thinking the Robinson Nebula would be more appropriate.
It's just such a lovely moment, and it had to be on my list.
I got nothing to add. It's perfect. I mean,
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm mad at myself for not thinking of this episode, and it's not on my long list because it is perfect. You're right.
It frames it perfect, and the T'Pol suggests the A.G. Robinson Nebula is so good.
It's just the perfect like balance of like emotion and human connection and science. Like you are totally right.
As soon as you said first flight, I was kind of trying to think of. I went straight to the scenes on Earth, and then of course the framing of this is that beautiful setup. Oh my god, this is awesome pick. Well encapsulated there, Jen. I love it. Perfect pick. Okay, Swapna, how about you? What's your number 5 pick?
All right, my number 5, I would say it's a deep cut, but it's not. It's a little bit of a deep cut. Okay, yep. My 5 words is the ship is a star. # Daniel Day Kim.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a deep cut. I like
blink of an eye.
I mean, it's the most popular episode, one of the most popular episodes ever, but it's a deep cut for this.
Yeah, it's Voyager season 6, episode 12. This is a deep cut for me personally because I forgot this episode existed, I'll be honest. And I'm doing a Voyager rewatch right now. Yeah, no, I forgot. This has never been one I've rewatched. This is never like, I have the like episodes I go through when, you know, like when I'm like feeling like I'm like, I just want to watch Voyager. I have my go-to episodes and I'll branch out every once in a while on this. I forgot about this episode until I rewatched it like maybe last month when in my Voyager rewatch, and I was like, it's a great episode, great acting, and it's such a good, just like pure sci-fi premise. Like so exactly like what it's, I don't want to say it's a perfect episode because that's putting a lot of like a kind of a burden on it, but it's a really just great sci-fi premise. So the premise is Voyager encounters this planet that's spinning super fast on its axis and it gets stuck. So basically they become a part of the night the sky. The ship becomes like a star in the night sky, and every second on the ship is something like 3 days on the planet. And so they watch the entire rise of this civilization from like the Stone Age to like space travel. And eventually Daniel Day Kim plays an astronaut who comes up to Voyager to see like what they're doing, because the ship has been in their sky and it's like inspired the civilization to like go to space and to, you know, it's been like a, you know, in their stories and in their legends. And I think it's just such a cool story. And I love the idea that like this astronaut who looked up at the stars as a kid and saw this ship in the sky got to go there and, you know, change the course of his people's, you know, civilization and existence by like going to the sky ship and meeting these people. And then he ends up saving Voyager because he goes back to his people and explains their situation. And because they have, you know, hundreds of years, they figure out how to get Voyager out of their atmosphere or out of, you know, their planet's orbit. And it's such a cool episode. And I just love, and there's some really just fun stargazing scenes on the planet through the like eons of time, you know, in very different times, very different people, that like they're looking up at the sky and looking up at the star that is Voyager in the sky. And I think it's just really cool.
Yeah, this is perfect. I mean, it's such a great, I mean, I know, Jen, it's your favorite Voyager episode, right?
My favorite Star Trek episode.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that at all.
And it's number 1 on my Voyager list too. It's one of my all-time favorites.
I just like, it's like one of those, I forgot, like, because when I rewatch Voyager 2, I have this tendency to do, I don't go, I feel like season 6 is not a season generally I rewatch a lot, not because it's bad by any stretch, it's great, but it just, you know, I just don't think of the episodes when, and like, so like this rewatch is like really opening my eyes again to how good of a show it is.
Star of the night, star of the day, come to take my tears away.
Star of the night, star of the day, come to take my tears away. Make my life always bright. It's a child's prayer.
To Voyager?
Yes.
I hope you're not disappointed.
How often does your very first dream come true? Of course, I'll help you.
Okay, it's a Trek rank staple this episode, to say the least.
Yeah, that's I couldn't pick it just because I've picked it so many times.
You picked it too many times. Well, I'm glad I could pick it for you. So we can talk about
I'm so glad it's on. Yeah,
because also, Daniel Day Kim is not hard to look at.
Oh no, he's no. We should just throw in him as a Mako too.
Yes, yeah, that's why I'm like I had to hashtag him because oh my lord.
Yeah, I disagree so much. My hashtag would have been like, I'm picking it again. So what? Deal with it. So that's why I didn't pick it. But the ending shot we have to mention of old Katana Retz sitting on the hill.
Yes.
And finally getting to see Voyager finally, leave orbit and just the culmination of not just his life of gazing up at the stars, at Voyager, but just the whole history of his people. And it's such a lovely moment. It's one of my all-time favorite ending shots.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's so beautiful. What a great episode. It belongs on this list.
Perfect opening round here. Okay, let's do my number 5 pick. I love this one. This one's a little bit off the beaten track. 5 words and a hashtag. Script signatures above the stars, hashtag second star to the right. And it is Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Aww. And it's the finale, the end. Basically, this is the end of TOS as we know it on screen. And it's a little bit of a 3-for-1. So I immediately thought of the signatures over the stars. And that, to me, it's stargazing, boy. Watching those names appear in that setting
is a double meaning. I love it.
But there's also 3 elements here. So there's this iconic shot of the Enterprise and Excelsior going towards Kittimer, and the sun is rising behind the planet, and then the Excelsior kind of peels off to the right. Just incredible shot. And then so that's one. Then you have the crew on board the Enterprise, the bridge, seeing them for the last time. And of course, Kirk gives the command from Peter Pan, second star to the right, straight on till morning. And then we get the final, of course, the captain's log handoff from Kirk to the TNG crew. And we see George Takei, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig, James Doohan, DeForest Kelley, Leonard Nimoy, and William Shatner's signatures above the stars as TOS ends. And of course, the score from Cliff Adelman. So that's Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, my stargazing number 5 pick. Jen, what's your take on this one?
I love the double meaning of stargazing that you used there. Yeah. Like, why is it so interesting to watch these signatures appear on the screen every single time? Like, I sit there mesmerized by the combination of the star field and these signatures showing up. It's iconic, it's beautiful, and it's a great outside the box pick.
Yeah, this is my favorite Star Trek movie. Like, Star Trek 6 is my favorite, and this is one of my favorite moments of that movie, so I totally agree. I think it's the music that really does it for me, and just it is so emotional for me because they're saying goodbye, we're saying good, I'm gonna start crying. It's beautiful, and I love the way that the second star to the right and straight on till morning.
It's so good. It's so good. And it's the last time we see them all together. I'm gonna cry. Okay, that's not the only thing I'm gonna cry over. Okay, round 4. Jen, what do you got?
Okay, my round 4 pick. Don't know what you got. Hashtag the void. This is Voyager season 5, episode 1, Night.
Okay.
Good pick.
Yeah.
So this episode is basically about the absence of being able to stargaze.
No stars.
No stars. 0 stars. Are in this desolate area of space where there's literally nothing, and they think they're going to have to make it 2 years with nothing. And when we see them in this episode, it's only been 2 months and everybody's about to lose it, and it's a lot. And it's because missing that, not having that connection, being completely, utterly, 1,000,000% alone. And this episode has some lovely things in it. Like it's got Captain Proton, which is fun. It's got the Malon, which I love. And I think that they're an underrated villain. Right. But the moment of start, it's got the time to take out the garbage line. I love it. I never get sick of that. But the stargazing moment, the very end, just the beautiful moment. They go through the vortex, and and for some reason, even the Doctor and B'Elanna are on the bridge. You know what I mean? Because this is like everyone can experience this moment. And and Paris like, I think I see something. I think and finally, like, all the stars come into view, and there's a very beautiful shot at the end of the just the gorgeous, very, very occupied region of space that they've entered, and you could just feel the relief, the sense of relief and the sense of calm, and that they're back amongst the stars, and it's just such a lovely moment. But also in this episode, I do want to mention one more scene, which is Tuvok and Seven in astrometrics, and and someone's basically, what are you doing here, and he makes a joke only the way Tuvok can make a joke. The view from my quarters has been less than stellar lately, which is really funny. But he says something that always sticks with me, and it sticks with me when I stargaze now. He says, because he says that the reason he's in astrometrics looking at pictures of stars is because it helps him meditate. He does his Vulcan meditation there, and he says, I imagine that each star represents a single thought, and I just love the way of thinking about it like that, because geez, when I look at the stars, like I said, you get introspective and you start thinking about a million different things, and try to think like Tuvok thinks, of trying to see it all laid out in the star field, like all your thoughts, and you can lay it out in a better way than the jumble in your brain, and like stargazing has that effect on you. And I just always thought that was such a lovely sentiment. So that's why it's on my list.
I can hear Echoes of the Void playing in my head right now from Harry Kim. Brilliant pick. I love this pick.
Sir, relax, Ensign. Anything to report?
Not even a stray electron. But I did finish writing my concerto. I call it Echoes of the Void. Got a minute?
Too many, in fact.
Tell me what you think.
Swapna, what's your take on Night and this emergence?
I love this pick for so many reasons. I love like kind of the inverse, like the loss of stars, and like for this theme, like what that does, to this crew. And I also love because, it's funny that I didn't even think about it, but like my book, part of the book, there are meditations in there about like looking at the stars and meditating, and like meditations you can do when, it's not exactly the same as Tuvok's, but it's a similar idea. And so like I probably was like in the back of my mind inspired by him in this episode, and I didn't even make that connection. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Time to take out the garbage.
Yeah, so great. The Malon, man. I love taking the Malon.
They're awesome.
The freighter is moving to combat the aliens.
They're trying to distract the Malon, give us the upper hand.
10 seconds! The freighter's shields are weakening.
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
All right, Swapna, what's your round 4 pick?
My round 4 pick is, my 5 words are stellar cartography is absolutely breathtaking, though it's not my favorite movie. My round 4 pick is Star Trek Generations, specifically for the stellar cartography thing.
Excellent.
Oh my God,
I thought about this one, and I'm so glad you picked it. Yeah.
Like Generations is not my favorite movie. It's not something I rewatch a lot, but this scene is worth
so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and I think it really does encapsulate our emotion versus science that we're talking about, because literally they're talking about science, trying to figure out where the nexus is going. Picard and Data are sitting there, and what happens if you take out, what happens if you destroy the star? And then Data basically has an emotional breakdown in the middle of this scene because of his emotions chip. And I think it's a really nice encapsulation of that, the kind of my prime directive that I was, that I had in mind when I was choosing episodes. And I think this scene is just so visually stunning, and I really want a stellar cartography in my house so I can do that science there.
Especially that one. It's so cool. So this was on my secondary systems. I love you said it, because they're stargazing, literally looking at stellar cartography, and it's like that classic Star Trek scene, right, where they're talking about something important, data's emotions, but they're also like they're sciencing this problem, and they're extrapolating the math on, oh, what if we move this? What if we move this? Oh, it's a straight shot. So I have a pick that falls into this category because it's one of my favorite things with Star Trek. But I'm so glad you picked this one, because I definitely was thinking about it as well, but put it down to my secondary systems. Jen, what's your take on this stellar cartography?
Oh, I love it so much. I didn't even think of it. It's such a gorgeous set.
So gorgeous.
So gorgeous. And just the graphics of the sciencey bits
it's amazing.
Are really, really good. Yeah. And you're right. I love Trek is best when it's sciencing and feeling at the same time.
I agree. And I do love how New Trek has really embraced this movie. I really appreciate when they take everything, not they don't try to sugarcoat the stuff that maybe wasn't as well received. They're just like, no, this is I love that they've done that. And this episode's super important to Picard seasons 2 and 3. And so in his journey. And so I don't know. I like it.
The amazing thing about that effect and that scene, it's that movie upgrade, right? In terms of from TV to film, and even though if you look at it, it's like a product of its time, where there's a beam in the middle because they couldn't do the screen across both, and so there's all these things. None of it matters. It doesn't stands the test of time for 25 years. It's beautiful and it's gorgeous to look at. I love it. So good. Okay, it's my round 4 pick. All right, well, I forgot to ask if we thought we were gonna have any duplicates. We are. 5 words in a hashtag. Theta radiation occludes the stars.
Yes.
Hashtag time to take out the garbage.
Yes.
All right, it's Voyager emerging from the void. We already talked about it. I'll just say that exact same page, Jen. That final moment where, the whole episode is just a perfect, it's a really good episode about depression and the things and work and the things you have to kind of deal with and navigate in life. And that final moment where they jump through that portal and emerge, that's just one of the most beautiful starscapes in the history of Star Trek. It's brilliantly executed, and this is a Brandon Braga and Joe Manowski script. David Livingston did the direction, and just as there's one little star that Tom Paris sees, and then Janeway asks Harry what she sees. He says, "I see a densely packed region with thousands of star systems. Looks pretty lively." So really cool.
Love it.
Really cool. Fantastic. All right, let's end round 4 and go to the soup round. Round 3, Jen, what do you got?
Behold the primordial soup.
Okay, lightening the mood with the soup round here.
Okay.
5 words in the hashtag. Unexpected sequel with familiar lobes. Hashtag 3 frangs for the next verse. This is Voyager season 3, episode 5, False Prophets.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know.
False
I know this isn't everybody's favorites, but I get a kick out of this episode. I think it's funny. I love the fact that they just randomly decided to follow up on TNG's The Price, where these 2 Ferengis, go through the Barzan wormhole, and who knows where they went. Well, guess what? Now we know, in case your inquiring minds were wondering, they went to the Delta Quadrant. Which just a lovely way, to connect Voyager to the greater Star Trek universe when they're stuck in this far off quadrant. But the reason that I picked the stargazing moment, there's some cool wormhole science, because they have to polarize the instability, and we get more particles. We get Verteron particles, which are always fun, So there's some good some good sciencey bits there. But the stargazing part, so these Ferengis,
the Song of the Sages.
The Song of the Sages. So the Ferengis, in case you're unfamiliar with this episode, the Ferengis, from the Alpha Quadrant, they crash on this planet, and of course they exploit it. and they exploited the local population's legends and mythologies. There was a song of the sages, where the sages will come from a fiery chariot above, or whatever whatever it is, and so they took advantage of that. And there's some nice Prime Directive stuff here, because Janeway and the rest of the crew are like, well, okay, well, what do we do here? Like, is this a prime, like, should we not interfere with their society? Because the Ferengis aren't part of the Federation. But at the same time, it's kind of our fault. They decide that they take on some responsibility, since the Federation hosts the negotiations of the Barzan wormhole and the Bryce. But they also say, like, well, if we just take away these, the society's gods, basically the Ferengi are gods to them, then that'll cause a lot of instability and chaos in the society. So they pay the free well, they don't pay 3 francs for the next verse. They pay with shoes, which is a funny reoccurring bit in the episode, that they have to barter with their shoes to get the rest of the verses of the Song of the Sages. And the rest of the verse goes, and there amid the eastern lights 3 new stars appeared that night. And then they talk about how then the sages ride away on wings of fire. But it's really nice, because they're like, okay, we're going to make this part of the Song of the Sages come true. So then when they go away, it's part of their legend, so they'll be okay. But they use proton bursts to make the 3 stars, the 3 new stars appear. Neelix dresses a Ferengi, and he says, I'm the holy pilgrim from the Song of Sages, and then crickets chirp and no one cares. And then he's like, oh look, the 3 new stars, and then everyone takes notice, and it actually ends up working too well, because then the locals take the wings of fire to mean that they should burn the holy sages. But it's fun. It's just funny, but it's also just a fun connection to the to TNG. But just everyone looking up at the 3 the 3 new stars, the 3 photon bursts. Just it's a neat thing to do with a starship, to like make it look like 3 new stars appeared. There's a great shot at the end in the sky of you see the ship flashing across the sky, and the guy's like, look, the holy ones are going home. It's just fun, and it's just pure fun. And I just love that they use the stargazing part of it is an important part to the plot. So I think that's fun.
Well, the Holy Pilgrim would love this pick.
Oh my gosh.
I took me a second. I'm like, false prophets. Oh yeah, the whole final act is this whole con game with the stars. I love it. Swapna, any take on false prophets?
I have this would one of it have never occurred to me, but I love it. I think it's such a creative pick, and like I like that even in the kind of silly episodes, there's like cool science and stuff like that. I think it's great.
I just I love that the Ferengi get home and Voyager's still stuck there. So.
I know.
I don't love that. I don't love that.
I don't love that part.
All right. Swapna, what's your round 3 pick?
Okay, so my 5 words is home is in the stars, #dreaming of space. And this is one of the heavy hitters, probably, Next Generation season 4, episode 2, family.
Yes.
Because of that final scene where Renee Picard is sitting against a tree and stargazing. I had a lot of trouble narrowing. I only wanted to pick one kind of Picard stargazing episode, and there's an entire season of Picard that feels like it's about like just look up. Like it's a Picard season 2. And Jim, I think you and I like that season more than a lot of people.
Look up. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, so it's all of us. Like I actually really like Picard season 2. So I really went back and forth on what to pick, but I went with family for a few reasons. It's just that image is really powerful to me because it's a lot of people. It was me as a kid. I think it's a lot of people sympathize so much about like trying to get out of your small town or what feels really small and see the wider world and wanting something kind of bigger and brighter for yourself, and also but kind of not recognizing the beauty in a simpler life and a beauty in maybe staying closer to home, which I didn't recognize when I was younger, and now I think I appreciate a lot more. And then on another kind of note, like just the serialized storytelling in this is, I think, one of the first times that Next Gen and the franchise in general did this kind of like serialized storytelling where they followed up on an emotional like trauma, because like I feel like these characters undergo emotional trauma week after week, and then they're fine the next week, and we know why. We know about 90s TV, and that they didn't want Rick Berman and didn't want serialized storytelling, and Roddenberry didn't, but yeah, I think this is powerful for a lot of reasons, but really it's just that final scene.
Yeah, this is one of the two of the heavy hitters that I was wondering if it would get picked. I'm so glad it did. I was kind of resigned, like, okay, it's probably not going to get picked. It's too big. I'm so glad you picked it.
Like literally, it is the literal stargazing.
It's the definition of it, and for Robert just to say, let him stay out there with his dreams. Yeah,
I know.
Oh, so beautiful. It's great. I think this was just picked on one of our recent episodes. Oh yeah, it was a one-off relatives, and we've been Debbie Maltzanti picked beautiful Renee. Jen, any strong feelings on this at all?
Yes, I think it's lovely how this is the one and only time that we see Rene Picard, and we're just left to imagine the wonderful life he must have had.
Yes, yeah.
Traveling amongst the stars after graduating Starfleet Academy. That's what happened.
Yes, 100%. Thank you. You and I are on the same page.
That.
Well, at least his previous namesake, Rene Picard, turns out was Save the World. So. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lovely moment, and just a beautiful image like that last. That's another one that just that ending shot is just.
There's
perfect.
A reason everybody loves family. I mean, it's a perfect episode. It's just incredible. So
good.
Okay. By the way, loving family is a good reason to kind of defend Picard season 2, because there's no scenes on the bridge.
Agreed.
There's no space travel. It's just a story at Le Bar, France. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna start using that. Put that in my holster. Okay. All right. So it's me. Round 3. My round 3 pick. All right. I picked this one because of one single image I couldn't get out of my head of one of our favorite characters just immersed in stargazing. And so I couldn't think of what episode it was. And I finally remembered, and then I did some research and I watched the episode. And I said, I'm picking this. 5 words and a hashtag. Literal nonstop Odo gazing, hashtag the Omarion Nebula. And this is The Search, DS9, season 3, episode 1, where Odo gets it's Odo's search for his home after he's relieved of his duties basically by the Federation at the start of season 3. And I just remember this image of him staring at a star chart in Deep Space Nine and saying, "What is that?" And I thought, it's going to be a good moment. So, Odo was found in the Denorius Belt. I just love saying Denorius Belt, and I love thinking about the Denorius Belt. So that was a couple years prior, and now, we've always known he's like this salmon swimming upstream, trying to, at some level, he's going to return to his home. And watching The Search again, there's this moment where the whole crew is in the Gamma Quadrant on the Defiant for the first time. It's the first episode of the Defiant. And they've got the Karama guy there who is going to help try to point them towards the founders. And he puts a map up on the screen, and Odo just zeroes in on it. What is that? What is that place? The Omarion Nebula. And he can't stop talking about it, thinking about it the rest of the episode.
This is the Calanon system. The Dominion maintains an unmanned subspace relay on the 7th planet. We have been told by the Vorta to direct all communications there. Where the messages are sent after that is not our concern.
What is that?
It is the Omarion Nebula.
The Omarion Nebula.
That one image is what I'm picking. Is the Calanon system, and they kind of talk about the different planets, and then they end up going there and getting attacked, and Odo steals a runabout with Kira, or escapes in a runabout, and then just keeps going there to the Omarion Nebula. And I just love this moment. And I thought it was like it's just a literal stargazing for Odo, and it's always been stuck in my head. So, Jen, what's your take on this one, Odo getting home?
What a lovely moment! This never would have occurred to me. It's like this pull towards home is like intrinsic inside him.
Yeah,
which is just so cool. Especially like you said, he was just found floating amongst the stars in the Denorius belt. I'm glad I got to say it too. But like that's he came from the stars, and now he's going to find where he was. He's from before that, but it's just also just inside him. Gosh, just seeing that chart and being like, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful moment and a great episode. That's a good deep cut. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great thread for Odo getting home. Swapna.
I am so glad someone picked this one because I thought about it a lot and I didn't because of exactly this the emotion. Like Odo is a man of like reason, a man of logic in a lot of ways. And this is an emotional journey for him. And it's a very like personal, emotional journey. And so I'm so glad this got picked. I love this two-parter. I think it's so good.
Yeah, it accomplishes so much. It's awesome. All right. I'm glad somebody else thought of that because I know it was a little bit off the beaten path, but that image is always
it's very powerful
in my head with Odo.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Let's go to round 2. Jen, what do you got?
Okay, round 2 pick. The Window of Dreams, literally. Hashtag nosebleed seats are still in the stadium. This is Prodigy, season 1, episode 7, First Contact.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I'm picking this is because we see where Dal came from before he was at Tars Lamora. He lived on this Ferengi Marauder, and he had a room under the engine with a little porthole where he could look out and see the stars. And that image, that's just like that gets me.
Yes,
so much. But the reason, like, when so my 5 words of the Window of Dreams is because we hear about the Window of Dreams in 3 episodes of Star Trek. Body and Souls, where we first in Voyages, where we first hear about the window of dreams. The captain who tries to romance the Doctor in Seven's body talks about the window of dreams and how it's the most beautiful thing in the quadrant. It's apparently it's a pulsar cluster in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's apparently has electromagnetic fields that make sounds when it vibrates against the hull. But anyway, so the Window of Dreams is what it's called in Voyager, and then we see it again in Prodigy, Lost and Found, the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Dal tells Gwen about one of the things he saw, how he's been there and he's been out and seen the stars, and he saw the Window of Dreams, the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And when you're watching him in Lost and Found, you think, wow, this guy had like a really cool badass life before he got stuck in Tars Lamora, like doing all this exploring and then when you see where he was in First Contact, he's got this little porthole, and you can just imagine, younger even Dal looking out this porthole and seeing this beautiful pulsar cluster, and stargazing and dreaming, and it's a lovely stargazing moment, and it's also just a lovely moment about these kids, where they started and where they belong, in Starfleet. And it just gets me every time when we see that window.
The Window of Dreams thing, I didn't know that was a connection to Body and Soul from Voyager. That's so cool. I'm gonna have to do a Body and Soul Lost and Found First Contact rewatch, which I can do now since we finally have Prodigy back.
My gosh,
it's the final second half of the season's finally available for digital downloads. Fantastic pick. I love this, especially thinking about that little portal in the window and where he was raised. I love Dal. Fantastic deep cut pick. Swapna.
I love this pick. I love it for many reasons. And I think, Jen, you and I probably had a very similar reaction to him. Mm-hmm. Like the idea of him looking at that porthole, like as a parent, like it's as a parent, it just it immediately just makes me want to cry, and it makes my heart like just, it's hard. Like it's hard to, it's just this like primal like instinct to want to protect him because it's just this little space, and he deserves better, and all these kids deserve better. And like, I love this pick. Love it.
So good. Okay, Swapna, what's your round 2 pick?
My round 2, 5 words teaching us about star science. Hashtag go Dr. Crusher. This is Suspicions, TNG season 6, episode 22. Now, this is kind of a deep cut for this topic.
I love this. A lot of star
But I love
stuff.
this episode. It's one of my favorite Next Generation episodes because it's the episode that taught me about stars. It taught me about like the layers of a star. What is the corona of a star? It's the outer atmosphere. And that kind of led me, like when I was young, led me on a journey. Like, what do you mean a star has atmosphere? How does a star have atmosphere? Like I didn't know, until then I started like reading books on it and looking into it. Oh, Jupiter is actually a failed star. And the only thing that separates like a Jupiter from a star is that it doesn't have enough mass to start thermonuclear fusion at its core. And so like, that's how this works. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how stars burn. And so that led me on this like journey of science, this episode. And so I absolutely love it. So I included this more for the science than for the emotional connection. But I think it's such a cool, I think it's such a cool story for for anyone who doesn't, remember this episode. Dr. Crusher's relieved of duty at the beginning of the episode. And it's kind of told in flashbacks as she's explaining to Guinan what happened. And basically she hosted a conference with a bunch of like scientists, and one of them, Dr. Rega, was a Ferengi, and which I love this depiction of Ferengi. I think it was the first time we saw on Next Gen something other than like the stereotypical Ferengi. And he's murdered, and she is convinced it's for his technology, which would allow a starship to shield itself and enter the corona, or the outer atmosphere of a star. And so she's convinced that's why, and like risks everything to uncover what really happened. And I love her in this. I don't think we got enough great Dr. Crusher episodes, but I'm so glad we have this one.
People, I just learned so much from Swapna. You have no idea. You have no idea. This is a fantastic pick. It makes so good. I love it so much that you learn. This is the impetus for you to learn so much more. Jenn, what's your take?
Yeah, that's amazing, Swapna. That's really cool. I think this is one of Beverly Crusher's finest hours. I love this episode. It's great. It's a great mystery. It's great science. I love the fact that, as you said, it's a Ferengi scientist, and for me watching this episode, that opened my mind. I was like, oh, what does a Ferengi scientist look like? What does a Klingon scientist look like? Like all these different cultures, how do they science differently than we would? Like it's just very cool. It's a great idea, to get all these different cultures together and try to solve this engineering problem. It's very cool, and it's such a great underrated episode.
It's so cool. And now I'm appreciating it. I love the way it connects with Descent as well, and the things we see Beverly doing
exactly.
there. Yeah,
exactly.
This is classic, some of that TNG connective tissue between the episodes. So, okay, we are going to stay in TNG for my round 2 pick. I have picked this episode a lot because I love it, but I'm going to do it again. So this pick is the one I've kind of teased it before. It's about mapping stars and figuring out how they relate to each other and trying to navigate them, and features one of my all-time favorite kind of engineers solve it by talking to the computer and tapping a console and asking it questions. And I love those kind of scenes. So I'm really curious, Swapna, if any of this is legitimate when I talk about this, some of this techno babble. Here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. Gravitational values derive stellar objects. Hashtag technobabble stargazing. It is TNG season 3, episode 25, Transfigurations. And there is a scene between Data and Geordi. So this is the episode where they find this John Doe character. They don't know, he's kind of emerging and changing into something, and he has amnesia. They're trying to figure out where he came from. So they have this weird piece of technology from his ship, and they're trying to plug it into Enterprise computer and kind of map the stars to figure out where he came from. And I love it. It's this classic. Oh, by the way, this episode starts with the classic TNG mission to chart an unexplored part of space. It's literally the first lines from the log from Picard that, hey, we're charting an unexplored part of space, which is always just the best.
Captain's log, stardate 43957.2. We are charting an unexplored star system within the Zeta Gellis cluster. This routine assignment has made for a refreshingly quiet time aboard the Enterprise.
So I don't have it all specifically, but there's like G-type stars and pulsars and gravitational shifts and all this kind of classic Trek technobabble that I think is kind of legitimate, right? Most of that?
I think so. Right. I don't remember the exact stuff, but all that is legitimate. Yeah.
Everyone's going to need to go watch this scene because I know no one remembers it. But so they're just sitting at the monitor on the bridge and they're trying to figure out this contraption from John Doe's ship. And there's some kind of RNA sequence or something. But the data's like,
We've determined that the storage capsule from John Doe's escape pod contains navigational information.
Can you match these stars to our charts?
Computer, run transformational matrix calculations. Match navigational reference to known stars in this sector.
Information on this sector is incomplete. No correlation.
I'm not giving up yet, not after coming so close to cracking this thing. That might be flight path information from John's ship, but without a frame of reference, I can't determine its origin points.
Computer, assume those paths are course corrections and derive gravitational values for stellar objects near those flight paths. Most of these are ordinary G-type stars. This would appear to be a neutron star, possibly a pulsar.
Which means that this might be a rotational time reference.
Computer, assume these symbols are pulsars. Translate associated values into standard temporal notations. Computer, is there a pulsar with a rotational period of 1.5244 seconds within sensor range?
Affirmative.
Bingo. Now, computer, overlay navigational chart using referenced pulsars and project a flight path back to its origin.
Flight path originated at bearing 003, Mark 015.
Assume these symbols are pulsars, translate associated values into standard temporal notations, and the computer comes up with affirmative. We have a map, and it shows this map through the stars, and they figure out what planet this guy has come from. And I just freaking love it. It is so pure TNG, just these characters talking to the computer, and it's the most just engrossing drama. I don't know how they make this it's like Shakespeare. It is just, I love these scenes. I love these moments. Just two characters, LCARs, and a bunch of science mapping the stars. Jen, do you remember this one at all?
Yeah, well, the only reason is because when you picked it last time I was on, I made a mental note to rewatch this episode.
Did I really? Oh my God.
I know it was the last time. It was a long time ago. Yeah. I can't remember what you picked it for.
Well, I did pick John Doe for one of my hottest male characters.
I was not on that one, but
I just dig that.
Ben's like, how dare?
Yeah, right? That was like 6 years ago, by the way. Anyway, sorry.
But I love the scene because I love the idea of them just finding these fingerprints, these landmarks. Yeah. And getting to reconstruct I'm very interested in the forensic science aspect of that. Like, that's so neat. That's to me. So I love that. And I love me some good technobabble. It's a great pick.
Classic. Swapna.
Totally agree. And I live for the technobabble. I was the kid who had my little technical manual while I was watching the show and would look up things and be like, how does that work? What does that mean? And I love that, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense, there's always an internal logic to how they did these things. The transporter has a Heisenberg compensator, and that's not really, as far as we know, in physics. And
it's working fine.
But they just put in a compensator for the Heisenberg uncertainty principle because that's their solution, and that works. That works for me. And I love it. I love that amount of thought went into it.
How does the Heisenberg compensator work? It works fine.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
By the way, I'm just looking at my notes. So after they get all these kind of triangulating the map, Jordy says, computer, is there a pulsar with a rotational period of 1.5244 seconds with a sensor range?
Yes, that's actually good science.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's good science. Yeah.
Good.
Pulsars do have rotational periods. That's
there you go.
That's right.
So that's real. Oh my God. That's
real because pulsars are types of neutron stars. So even when you're like, it could be a neutron star or a pulsar. Yeah, that would make sense because a pulsar is a type of neutron star. Yeah.
People, I am learning so much.
That's amazing.
Okay, round one.
Begin round one.
Here we go. Jen, what's your number one stargazing moment?
Okay, my number one pick. Call when you get there. Hashtag, I will watch the stars for it. This is Discovery Season 2, Episode 14. God. Such Sweet Sorrow, Part 2.
So good.
This is Spock seeing Michael's signal that she's made it to the future okay.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
Oh my God,
too. I got chills. That just shows you how good this series is,
so
and how this is
good.
going to be part of our Star Trek history. I got chills thinking about
season 2 of Discovery is just phenomenal. I mean, the whole show I love, but like season 2 has a special place in my heart.
Oh, great pick.
And so they they're it's also a really good season finale because it's very exciting. There's there's space battles and there's science and there's heart and there's romance. There's it's got everything.
Yum.
But yum. Love none. But but this is the angel, the red angel. They knew there were 7 signals that but only 6 had been used, and they figured this out that So originally Spock was going to be on the Discovery for their trip through the porthole or whatever wormhole. I guess she opens up a wormhole, and but his
it's definitely not a porthole. It's either a portal or
portal. I'm still thinking about
you're still thinking about Prodigy. I know.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, but he can't make it back to Discovery, so he's not gonna be able to go to the future. Yada yada. But they have this wonderful heart-to-heart talk. This is the last advice I'll ever be able to give you. But she uses the imagery of stars too, because when she gives him the advice, she says there's a whole galaxy out there full of people who will reach for you. You have to let them. And just knowing that she's talking about Kirk, nobody knows it yet, but she's talking about Kirk. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful moment between a brother and a sister. And it's also it's pretty cool time travel-y stuff when they realize, oh, that's what the 7th signal is. It's me. I'll sending it, through the wormhole when we get to the other side, and he says, I will watch the stars for it. And just the beautiful moment when we see it, we get a Spock personal log, which is 124 days since she left. And you could, by the way, he talks about it, you can tell that he's been looking for this star, for this signal the whole time. And he's Beardo Spock here. It's great, but you can tell that this is the moment when he decides to move on and physically that's manifest with him shaving and going to the bridge. But they finally see the signal. Number 1 says has found the signal, and God, this is Ethan Peck's being Spock so perfectly. He just looks at it so Spockily, like with no emotion, but for some reason you can still tell that it's simmering underneath him, like just the relief of seeing the signal. He's just amazing in this bridge scene, and he says, he's very Spock about it. He says, I'm just gonna run the analytics, and then he can move on, and they can move on, and the Enterprise hit, Pike says hit it, and Spock's like, let us see what the future holds. And
incredible.
It's just a wonderful closure for him and Michael, and a very, very very interesting family relationship, and an important moment for Spock. But Michael's a very important relationship for Spock, and it's so cool that the way they do it, and it just gets me every time.
The most incredible thing about this pick right now, and I'm going to set off another black alert here, just because we said it before. This episode is current through Lost in Translation from Strange New Worlds, Season 2.
Black alert.
Black alert.
Where Spock meets Kirk for the first time.
Oh my God.
So they literally happened. What this scene is about, this Kirk moment and the watching for Michael and the importance of her and his life. And now it just happened. Oh my God. What a pick. So good. You totally made up for your false prophets pick. I
love it.
What's your take on this?
I love this pick. I love it. This episode is one of my favorites, I think, of all time. You know, like Pike saying, you know, goodbye, my friends, my family, which like is kind of a cheesy line, and in the mouth of someone less talented, it wouldn't have worked, but it works. Like I just like tears. Like I love this episode. I think it's such it's such a nice pick. It's just God, this season 2 of Discovery, I might have to rewatch it after my Voyager rewatch is done. Now I'm realizing, because it was so good.
It's kind of a cheesy line that I absolutely love. Every second of it. It's perfect. Yes. By the way, I got to see this at a screening on a big screen. Oh my God, this episode on a big screen, people. I mean,
oh my God,
you talk about a motion picture experience. Wow.
Yes,
it's a classic. Okay, fantastic. Swapna, what's your round one pick?
Mine is, my 5 words are salvation found through the stars, hashtag searching for something better. And I'm doing New Trek as well for my first pick. We're talking about Ad Astra per Aspera, Strange New Worlds, season 2, episode 2.
Yes, of course.
This is, and it's funny because this is not like a traditional stargazing pick, but it is the title of the episode, Ad Astra per Aspera, is, you know, it's the motto of Starfleet. Exactly. It's to the stars through hardship. Or my favorite, probably not 100% accurate translation of it is a hard road to the stars. And like that's, you know, you but know I'm a space reporter. I'm part of the space community. And one thing I love is, you know, I get really passionate about is like our space history, and it's an emotional thing when I think about the people who died for us to get to the stars. And, you know, at, you know, NASA Kennedy Space Center at on a plaque at Launch Complex 34, which is where the Apollo 1 astronauts died, there's a memorial plaque that says Ad Astra per Aspera, and the quote is, "In memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice so others could reach the stars." And Una says like this, and like, so this was like a huge moment for me. Like I was like bawling during this episode, and Una says like, this motto, it's why she joined Starfleet. You know, not only would the stars satisfy her curiosity and her need for exploration, but it promised her salvation. And that's what the stars have meant to me. And that's what science and understanding have meant to me over my life. And that's why, you know, that's what Star Trek has meant to me too. And, you know, that's why I picked it. It's this like perfect mix of like the science of it, of, you know, who she is, the science of who she is and what she is, and genetically modified, and, you know, finding where she fits and finding salvation through the stars. And oh my God.
This is such a great pick. It's so emotional. It's all about, I mean, the Strange New Worlds. And I'm a little tongue-tied because probably you don't know this, but January 27th, 1967 is the day the Apollo 1 athletes died. That's the day I was born. So,
woo, man.
Yeah, so
that's
I
heavy.
feel like this weird kind of, oh shit, that's the same day. That's a weird thing to have. So, God, this pick is so good. It's such a great episode. It's playing out through Strange New Worlds season 2 as we see it. So much emotion. Jen, what's your take on this?
Oh yeah, what a beautiful pick. It's a hard road to the stars. I love that translation of it too. That's just,
yeah.
And that even goes like when I talked about First Flight, you know, you have to go through all that. You have to go through the tests that fail, and, you know, and people giving their lives to make these things happen. And it's just what a wonderful pick. I love it.
I love it. And by the way, Jen's dog is named Luna, so it's very appropriate for Stargazing.
Sorry if you keep hearing her.
No, we love Luna. I love it. Okay, this is gonna be an emotional first round. My pick's super emotional. Honestly, I think it's one of my favorite picks ever. I'm not sure how this one came to me. It hit me when I was brainstorming. Super small and quiet scene, super poignant. And I may get emotional talking about it. So it's a scene for me that makes Carbon Creek an all-time classic. So 5 words and a hashtag. At dusk, you can see hashtag Sputnik with the naked eye. And it's Carbon Creek, Enterprise Season 2, Episode 2. And it's Tamir and young Jack discussing astronomy, the stars, and Sputnik in this real short, quiet, simple two-hander scene where Jack he's the son of the bar owner, Maggie, and he interrupts Tamir, who's meditating in the bar alone. And they start just talking about the library and reading. And he says, I just go to the library and I just pick up any book just to read, just to get knowledge. He doesn't care what the topic is. He just wants to read. And it's such a cool scene. And then they kind of start talking about astronomy, and Tamir's saying, yes, I have a shared interest in astronomy. And he just gets excited and he says, at dusk you can see Sputnik with the naked eye, because it's this is taking place in the 50s. And he says, maybe I can show you. And Tamir says, I've seen it already. Which I love. I love this whole thing. So that is stargazing to me. It's being awed by achievement and reach, and expanding what we know. And it's perfectly encapsulated in this scene in Carbon Creek.
What about you? What do you like to read?
I have an interest in astronomy as well.
Oh, really? Did you know that minutes after dusk, when the sun is just right, you can see Sputnik with a naked eye? Maybe tomorrow I could show you.
I've seen it already.
It's amazing, don't you think? Well, I'll let you get back to your meditating. It was nice talking to you.
And you.
And of course, the kicker, is that Tamir then leaves and is motivated to help this kid get to college when she finds out he doesn't have enough money, and sells her Velcro to an inventor. It's all just so beautiful. That's Star Trek, right? Jen, what's your take on this one?
Oh, this is one of the best episodes ever, isn't it?
It's so good.
For everything you just mentioned, but yeah, like the being awed by the advancements, like whether it is like whatever the new Vulcan technology is, or if it's just a simple satellite Sputnik, it's all part of it, and it's something inside all of us. And gosh, we've talked about a lot of characters that had it difficult and looked to the stars, and I don't think that's a coincidence,
right?
And oh gosh, that's such a perfect pick. I love it.
Yeah. Swapna?
Totally agree. I love this. Is a great episode. I think it's like one of the all-time classics. And I think it has a lot of heart, which is like, it's like funny to say that about a Vulcan centered episode, because you right. feel like these cold, but it has so much heart, and I love it.
So good. All right. That was fantastic. Let's get into some secondary systems picks. Jen, what just missed your list?
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
Okay, the one that I was really sad I couldn't pick is Enterprise Fusion. And this is the one where Archer had his textbook, his first textbook of Admiral Johnny Archer.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And he's so excited because he's actually going to get to see the Arachnid Nebula in person. It's like, look, it's in my book. I read this book when I was little and dreamed about it, and now I'm going to get to see it, and what a beautiful moment of why, what it means to want to see the stars. And I just love that moment. That was my hardest cut.
That's really deep.
My other one, we got a shout out to Rain Robinson. How do we not shout out to Rain Robinson, one of the best astronomers?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yes. I didn't have her on my list.
SETI astronomer, Rain Robinson.
What's her line? The greatest show under the stars.
Hey, I do the planetarium show Tuesday nights, so you guys should come by, check it out, bring your friends. The best stars in Hollywood are right above us.
Right. Also, just the last shot of What You Leave Behind with Jake and Kira looking at the wormhole, and then they flip it, like they pan back, and then you're stargazing at Deep Space Nine and further out and further out and further out, and it's just so lovely.
That's perfect.
Lovely moment. And then my last one is I was flipping the meaning of stargazing around too, and I was thinking about Boimler being excited to meet Tom Paris, which will never not be funny to me. Luna likes that one too. Sorry.
So good, so good. Tom Paris, I just want to tell you, I'm your biggest fan. K's on.
Tom Paris. Oh, K's on. Tom Paris, can I just say that I'm a really huge fan and I will play for you?
Swapna, what's on your? What just missed your list?
I had a couple. Deep Space Nine, season 3, episode 22, Explorers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this episode. It's just a very low tech episode.
That's stargazing.
Yeah. Jake and Ben Sisko build this ancient Bajoran solar sail ship, and they it's such a cool low tech episode that's just about them being in space, and there's a lot of personal stuff between them. I think if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but that's when Jake tells Ben he wants to be a writer, and Sisko's been looking forward to this trip with his son for a long time, and Jake doesn't really want to go at the beginning, and it's great. It's that mix of science and personal stuff that Star Trek does so well. Another one for me is Voyager season 6, episode, I think it's 8, which is One Small Step.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Of course. How did I not think of that?
Yeah, and I love this episode. I love it's checks my early space history box. I love that callback, and I love this journey that 7 of 9 goes on, where at the beginning she's yelling at Chakotay for trapping them in this spatial phenomenon, and by the end she's risking her own life to save this guy's body and download all the logs, because she as she's listening to the logs, she's understanding what it means and what the emotional connection is to history and to space and all that. And it's just this very really good emotional journey.
Yeah.
And then my last one is another Voyager episode, Future's End, because of the aforementioned and I love that they use Rain Robinson, and I love that they use the Griffith Observatory in this. That's really cool. I think that's just a very cool thing. And so yes, those were mine.
Love going to the Griffith Observatory, mostly because it's where Rain Robinson hangs.
Yes.
Maybe I can get
it's just so awesome.
Okay, I have a few more that weren't mentioned. My toughest cut I really wanted to include was the Gamesters of Triskelion with Kirk talking to Shauna when he's they're out on their little jog, and he's trying to pick her brain about the providers and stuff, and he points to the sky and he talks about the flicker of lights and the stars and the suns and the planets, and I just love that scene. It's really good. Totally talking about cheesy, but I love it. Also, I had the Nth Degree, which was Barclay. Did that Argus array. The whole point of it is out there to look at stars. It's their version of the Webb telescope. So that was one. And then I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs. So first, of course, Zefram Cochrane and his famous Star Trek shout out in First Contact. That's the other big major one that's hard not to include in this show, because it's such an iconic moment of him looking through the telescope and seeing the Enterprise. And then I love the incomplete Vulcan star charts, right? So the first season of Enterprise, they talk about the Vulcan star charts all the time, and Trip's I don't like these Vulcan star charts. Takes all the fun out of it. But Archer points out, they're not exactly perfectly accurate, because this thing here, they didn't have this thing. So I love that. That was mainly a reference in the Andorian incident. And then my last shout out, I'm doing it, the original Star Charts book by Jeffrey Mandel, which is maybe my all-time favorite Star Trek reference book. It's incredible. If you haven't picked this up, you need to find it. 2002. It's still surprisingly current. It's kind of what all the other series build off of in terms of trying to map all the different Star Trek locations into one big, actually it's a small book, Star Charts. And that came out in 2002. That is not the Stellar Cartography book from 2013, which was, didn't really do much to add to that information. So, okay, Star Charts, Jeffrey Mandel, pumping it up. All right. Incredible. so many deep cuts in this episode. I love that. So, all right, let's get into our regeneration cycle. We're going to recap our pick, and I'll run through some stats.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Jen, run through your 5 picks.
Okay, my number 5 pick was Enterprise's first flight and the Robinson Nebula. My number 4 pick was Voyager's night, just the vibes when they reemerge from empty space and see the stars again. My number 3 pick was Voyager's false prophets. I'm sorry, I think it's funny. The Song of the Sages and the 3 new stars that are actually photon bursts.
Okay, Holy Pilgrim.
My number 2 pick, it was Prodigy's first contact and Dal's porthole window to the stars. And my number 1 pick was Discovery's Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2 and the last Red Angel signal with Spock.
Fantastic. So you had 2 from Voyager, 1 from Enterprise, and then 2 new versions, Prodigy and Discovery. Swapna, how about you? Recap yours.
My number 5 pick was Blink of an Eye, Voyager season 6, episode 12 for just the whole thing, really.
Yeah.
4 was Star Trek Generations for stellar cartography. 3 was Family from Next Generation season 4, episode 2. Number 2 was Suspicions, Next Generation season 6, episode 22 for Star Science. And my first pick was Ad Astra per Aspera from Strange New Worlds, season 2, episode 2.
Fantastic list. You had 3 from TNG and then 1 each from Voyager and Strange New Worlds. And my list started with the Undiscovered Country, Star Trek 6, and the signatures over the Starscape. My number 4 pick was Night, just like Jen, Voyager. Number 3 was Odo's quest to get home in the search, Deep Space Nine, and the Omarion Nebula. My number 2 pick was Transfigurations from TNG and Mapping the Stars. And then my number 1 was Carbon Creek, Enterprise, and that great moment where they talk about Sputnik and astronomy. Okay, I did try to keep a few stats here, not too successful, but we had 1 duplicate, and I tried to break these up. We had 7 picks that were characters actually looking at the stars. I'm not including false prophets in that. Just,
they're looking at the
big
stars.
flim flam. It was a big flim flam. And then we had 3 where they were looking. 3 where they were looking at like screens, right? So it was about LCARs or screens and maps. And then 3 picks that were kind of more educational or like a project, like Suspicions. And that's it. That was my breakdown. Okay. And so
hey, how many Ferengi episodes did we have? 3.
Oh my God. We had 3 Ferengi episodes. Suspicions, False Prophets.
What was the third one?
And First Contact.
Yes,
it's on a Ferengi ship.
Oh, no,
that's
it
so
is.
good. That's definitely a Ferengi
it.
episode. Wow,
Not
3
even
Ferengi
that.
episodes and a stargazing topic.
I know.
Something went horribly wrong, people. I apologize.
We gotta start over.
We've made a huge mistake.
Okay, for my breakdown for the series, we spread it around good. We had 8 different incarnations that got picks, 1 each from TOS, Deep Space Nine, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Prodigy, 2 from Enterprise, and then leading the way with 4 each were TNG and Voyager. So, which actually makes a lot of sense because those 2 series really focused on the stars and exploration side of things. Fantastic. Unbelievable episode. I love this. All right, we're going to initiate a temporal inversion. Speaking of Future's End, Starling, initiate that temporal inversion. It's time to hear from you.
Initiate temporal inversion.
Initiating.
And for this week's temporal inversion, we are going back to episode 160 on our incredible show on top 5 hot messes. And I'm telling you, I was not expecting this episode to be so popular because everybody apparently loves a good hot mess. And we got a couple of voicemails. So the first one we're going to play, this one's amazing. It's from a new listener. And it's fantastic. You got to listen to this voicemail. It's from Todd Kehoe, who is on Twitter at ALBBizResearch. And yeah, just here it is.
Hi, Jim. My name is Todd Kehoe. I'm a new fan of Trek Ranks who's been catching up on a lot of back episodes. I wanted to drop my own top 5 for your most recent Hot Messes episode. Mostly y'all talk characters, so I wanted to do a non-character list. So my round 5 pick, my 5 words, everywhere you look, hot mess. Hashtag, but Wesley can fix it. It's the Salkundi Drema sector from the TNG episode Pen Pals. Yeah, Pen Pals. The whole system's tearing itself apart, and we can see it up close on Drema 4 with volcanoes spewing lava in the background. Hot mess. My round 4 pick, my 5 words, don't let them promote you. Hashtag no captain, my captain. It's the Admiralty of Starfleet. These are supposed to be the best of the Federation, and they rarely live up to it. To pick one episode, give me the Stars at Night from Season 3 of Lower Decks, which sort of offers the reasons to why all admirals seem to be lunatics. My round 3 pick, the Dabo round, my 5 words, it's exactly the same, but hashtag booby traps, zombie soldiers, and nerve gas. It's Empok Nor, featuring one completely insane Garrick. My round 2 pick, my 5 words, fascist salutes and agony booths, hashtag all hail Empress Sato. It's the Mirror Universe, which is a great sci-fi concept, but I'm also not sure how well your empire would hold up if every crew spent their missions plotting how to murder their superior officer. And my round 1 pick, my 5 words, to quote Seinfeld, they just write it off. Hashtag Paramount Minus. It is, of course, Paramount Plus for their giant middle finger to Trek fandom for dumping Prodigy off their streaming service. I was lucky enough to finish it in time, but that's just a lousy way to treat Trek. No thanks, Paramount. No thanks. Anyway, love the show, and as always, steer clear of those hot messes.
Okay, fantastic list from Todd. I mean, he picked all situations, so no characters. So the volcano planet and Pen Pals, that's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
All admirals being a hot mess. Yes.
Yes.
Of course they are. And of course, he hit a home run with his number 1 pick. Paramount Minus, losing Prodigy, hot mess. We're still pissed off.
Mess.
So pissed off. All right. Once again, those picks, more than enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal inversion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the Trek Ranks podcast. Keep your list coming to me at Trek Ranks on Twitter so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 stargazing moments or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call to Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527, or you can just record it yourself. Send me a DM. We connect that way. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of Trek Ranks. And on the next episode of Trek Ranks, we are doing the top 5 Strange New World Season 2 moments. We're at that point already. So we're about halfway through the season here for us. So Jenn and Swapna, if you had to choose one moment or episode or trend from Strange New World Season 2, what would it be, Jenn?
I think so far, I really would want to focus on Paul Wesley's Kirk, which is insane.
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 It's stealing the season.
Right. He's just done such a wonderful job. He's done such a wonderful job, and the writers have done such a wonderful job about remembering Kirk's like little eccentricities and things, like the little characteristics. And he studied his physical ones, and it's just all come together in such a lovely way. It's wonderful. And I got to give a shout out to Tomorrow with him and La'an and the kiss and the walking down. Okay, no, here's my pick. The scene, the hot dog scene where they're walking down the pier in Toronto, and there's hot dogs and fun, but then also, you can't see the sun in my universe, like it's just, oh my God, just everything. Good. How can you not watch that scene, and how can you watch that scene and not fall in love with Captain Kirk?
Especially when he said he's going to go back and get a second hot dog.
Yeah, I love it.
So good.
Kirk likes to eat.
Oh my God. Swapna, how about you through halfway through the season?
It's got to be in Charades, where Spock kind of has a realization of how much his mother sacrificed.
Oh God, yes.
Like Amanda's always been one of my favorite characters because I'm always super curious about kind of the two identities,
Yeah, what a moment.
Yeah, so she's always been fascinating to me, and I love what Discovery and now Strange New Worlds have done with her character. I think they've developed her so much. They've given her such the original portrayal of her gives you so much and so little. Like there's so little of her, but she like, dominates every scene she's in.
But
like,
it's there, right?
Yes.
Right. Yep.
It's you can tell there's a huge story there. And I feel like we've been getting it, and I'm so happy. But like, it's hard. It hurts me not to pick Ad Astra per Aspera, because I think that is like an all-time great, but just personally my favorite is that scene where Spock just realizes like how much his mom gave up.
She's amazing in that episode. The part where she straight faced with a smile, grabs that Vulcan teapot and says, I've learned to, as a human, I've learned to hide my pain. And that is just queen shit. I just love her.
So
she's
good.
amazing. She's so perfect in that episode.
That is going to be a great episode. I can't wait to get to it. Okay.
Channel closed. Reset. Subspace communications. Scrambler code Riker 1.
Scrambler code Riker 1 acknowledged. All right, let's close this episode out with a huge thanks to Jenn, Tifft, and Swapna Krishna. Incredible to have you guys on for this incredible topic. Any final Trek Scrambler codes either one of you want to relay before we depart? Jenn.
Thanks for having me. This was such a great topic. This is what Star Trek's all about. I love it.
Absolutely. Swapna, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. There's nothing better in life than talking Star Trek with your friends. And this was lovely.
Word.
Such a good time.
Word. And don't forget, everybody, pick up Stargazing. Contemplate the cosmos to find inner peace. I love that subtitle.
So good.
I had to get it exactly right. I can't wait to get my copy. All right. And finally, I just want to thank everyone for engaging with us again here on episode 163 of the Trek Ranks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
He's still out there. Dreaming about starships and adventures. It's getting late.
Yeah. But let him dream.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire Trek Ranks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
Course heading, Captain.
Second star to the right. And straight on till morning.